Greetings, and welcome to House of R, a Ringerverse podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you, and also with you.
Oh my goodness. We're recording a Star Wars pod on May the 4th, and that's just fun.
That's very special for us.
That's just a fun thing we get to do. You know what else is fun? We got to talk to Sam fucking Witwer.
We really
Maul
did.
himself.
We really did.
About season 1 of Maul Shadow Lord, the very action-packed and eventful finale, and Maul as a character who we have adored for eons on end and will for eons on end from here. We're going to explain the pod right after this. This episode of House of R is presented to you by Target. Calling all trainers! The Pokemon and Target collection celebrating 30 years of Pokemon is almost here, and the lineup is kind of incredible.
A few are sure to be fan faves. Pokemon starter jackets, mystery water-type Pokemon bottles, and even caboodles.
Which feels perfect, because Pokemon has always been about sharing the adventure. And Target is bringing fans together to celebrate that spirit.
The first drop is in store May 2nd, online May 3rd.
With the second drop, June 6th.
Explore now at Target.com.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit at the top just about our overall impressions of the season, some highlights, some big events and happenings.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning starts now.
They dropped the episodes midnight.
Early drop.
Early drop.
So here we are. I'm like fresh off an airplane, basically.
Yeah.
But we were not going to let a minute pass.
Right.
Before talking about this finale because a ton happened.
Gleam in Mallory's eyes is jet lag. So here we are.
Exactly. Usually it's just mania. Now it's mania and jet lag. We're going to just talk for a little bit at the top, and then we're going to get to our interview with Sam because we were treated to a really long, wonderful chat with Sam, who is unsurprisingly a delightful hang and just so thoughtful about a character who he has inhabited and embodied for more than a decade. So it was a wonderful chat. We talked about some things that happened in the finale, but also just like, what is it like to play Maul? How does he inhabit that headspace? Where's the character going in the future? Why was this moment of the timeline so crucial to explore? We had a great time. We got into the Apple Wars a little bit. It was wonderful.
A lot of it.
Here's what is coming, not just today, but the rest of the month. Also, again, it's like the morning of May the 4th. So if there's other Star Wars news later today, we're going to talk about it Thursday when we're back.
We'll get to it.
We're like, let's get to the studio this morning. We will be talking about the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 finale later this week, which neither of us have seen.
No.
I have.
You're still mourning Daniel Blake.
It's like so sad still. So I'm excited to be back and chatting with you about that at the end of the week. And then,
you have now seen shirtless Buck Cashman.
Yeah, you sent me some important text
the West
messages.
End performance of American Psycho.
Deeply captivating.
I care about you.
Deeply captivating. It's Friend of the Pod month, so we are hoping throughout the month to sprinkle in guests and
you say that
fun
like
hangs.
It's a thing. It's a thing we've decided to make May. We've decided to make it Friend of the Pod month. We're starting with Sam Witwer, our best friend who is here.
Longtime friend of the pod. We have considered him a friend of the pod for some time.
He didn't know, but now he knows. Friend of the pod, Sam Witwer, and we have a bunch of other pals that are planning to drop by this month.
We'll tease them as they get a little closer, and we're more confident that each of them is happening. But it's gonna be a great hang here on this big couch. We have, we've got more pillows. We got to put them to use. So that's all coming throughout the month. Obviously, we now have a House of the Dragon date for June. We know some big movie dates. We've got an action-packed summer ahead of us, including Lestat. Give us the update.
34 days until the Vampire Lestat premieres. 29 days until the recently announced Lestat live concert that they're doing one night only.
One night only is almost, I mean, it's great. You eventize it. You create the FOMO. It's smart. Is it almost cruel?
It is. And it's cruel for it to only be in New York City. But my understanding is that tickets are actually like free for fans. And that May 6th is when they'll be released. So there's going to be a stampede.
Okay.
To the old, I don't know, AMC.com or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't work for them. I don't know what their URL is. But I understand the tickets are free, which is cool. Like they're not charging fans to do this. They're going to screen the premiere.
Yeah.
And then Sam Reed's going to do some songs.
Just incredible. Incredible. To quote you via text, Primal Scream.
Yeah, Primal Scream.
Joanna, how can everybody follow along?
What a great question.
Tell me.
We have our very own social handles.
That's right.
On Instagram, TikTok, at House of Our Pod. Did we make Sam Witwer do some bits for the social only? Yes. So if you would like to see Sam be charming as all fuck on both this episode, but also follow our handles on Instagram and TikTok. You can follow, you can subscribe to the podcast. Why not? What a great idea.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah. We got a lot coming up. Why not? Why not do it? Friend of the pod month. And listen. You can follow Ringerverse also on a number of social media platforms of their choice. And then hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com.
Keep the emails coming.
Man.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you.
Inbox is always open.
Yeah, we hear from you guys aplenty. Someone invited us to their wedding, and then I got a reminder that we were invited to their wedding. We won't be going, but we really appreciate the invite. So thank you so much.
Consider your wedding blessed by our...
I got the reminder email. I was like, oh my God, who's because I have a goldfish brain. I was like, whose wedding is this? And I was like, oh, right. It's the listeners. Thank you so much for the invite.
Man.
We hope your wedding's amazing.
Should we just improv some vows right now? You want to do a haiku like Coach would?
Wow.
Yeah.
Will you give me a betrothal nickname?
It's Wolf of Quiet Pines, which is the nickname he gave Riley, is just historic stuff. All-timer. All-timer. It's hard to top. I think everyone else has to retire from the nickname game.
That's a good, subtle friend of the pod month teaser. Just saying.
People are going to think it's Coach.
It's not Coach.
Can you imagine? That would be incredible.
What if I know that your longtime pod nickname has been Mother of Dragon. Mallory has been Mother of Dragon.
That's right.
What if we change it to Mother of Preston? Is that as regal as
Where's
Mother?
Preston today? There he is. I'm afraid he's going to catch fire, but I've been assured that that's not a concern. And it's both because of, he's on a phoenix, but also just in general, his proximity to a light bulb.
But also
in a fairly new space.
If Preston caught fire and wound up being kind of burnt and scabbed, doesn't that seem in keeping with who Preston is?
It does. And also, you'd be able to see that on @House of Our Pod on Instagram and TikTok. So again, follow along.
YouTube, Spotify,
everywhere.
Video pods.
Full video episodes of House of R. Once more, we will just issue our spoiler warning. We're talking about everything that happened in all of season 1 of Star Wars, Maul, Shadow Lord. We're going to get into what happened in the 2-part finale, episodes 9 and 10, which dropped overnight this morning. They're fresh. They're short. 25 minutes each-ish. So if you haven't yet seen them, hit pause. Go watch them. Within an hour, you'll be back. If it happened in the finale, if it happened in the first season, and just to be clear, if it has ever happened to Maul, including in the past of our actual lives of consuming, but in the future of the canon
timeline,
some stuff that's in Rebels, we did talk about with Sam, it could come up, etc. If it's happened in Star Wars ever, you've been warned.
We know how he dies.
Great episode.
And so should you.
Any other spoiler warnings, programming reminders, announcements, set deck observations, anything else?
I'm just really excited for Friend of the Pod month. We've got a lot of fun
If
pals
you would like to be our friend, if you are our friend and you'd like to come on the pod, let us know.
We do have a few spots open.
We do have a couple spots.
We got a lot of messages about this, I will say. Did we try to get Wilson Bethel on the pod for Thursday? We did.
I haven't given up hope yet.
It did not work out, but everyone's my favorite tweet that I saw once we announced that Sam Witwer was on the podcast was someone on Twitter posted a photo of me with Timothy Oliphant and me with Sam Witwer. It's Joanna's out here collecting Infinity Stones. Wilson Bethel next. Well, Wilson Bethel.
Who knows what'll happen during Lestat?
Declined the honor, but we will have other friends.
Scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
Could those scheduling conflicts still vanish? We have 3 days until we're recording that podcast, so I've not given up.
Call your local lawmaker.
Make it known that you demand to see
your
Wilson
governor
on House of R.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Seems like a good use of everybody's
I think so.
Time, energy.
There's nothing else going on politically that they need to worry about. Getting bullseye on the pod is very important.
Right here.
The pillows await.
Should we just put bullseyes? Carlos, can you who's really great at graphic design? Let's get a bullseye right here.
I think it's a little surprising given the number of cardboard cutout standees people have sent to me over the years, including you.
I think
it's a little surprising that no one has sent me a bullseye cardboard standee. But should we get one? He can be carefully creased in half and sat right there.
Answer honestly. What would you, because the cardboard cutout, it's a moment in time that's frozen forever in cardboard. Do you want the bullseye cardboard cutout to be him chained shirtless to bed?
No. That's too intimate for everyday use. I say...
Or is it just intimate enough?
I say it's like in his like, I'm getting a milkshake and I'm going to kill a bunch of people, get up. That's the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm feeding an egg to a cat sort of energy.
Feeding an egg to a cat was wonderful. You constantly want to be reminded of the banana milkshake that you found appalling and I thought sounded delicious.
I want to be reminded of a man who takes action against the criminals who are running around the city, a.k.a. the ABTF.
Great stuff. Well, speaking of a man who takes action, it is time to talk about our beloved Maul. We're going to get to the opening snapshot. Okay, again, since we have this wonderful chat with Sam, we're going to keep it quick today. We're not going like beat by beat. We're not doing a deep dive, but we're going to hit some highlights. Let's just start with like overall impressions. We were very excited for this show. Mm-hmm. Did season 1 meet the hype? How did you feel about season 1 of Shadow Lord?
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally, actually, our conversation with Sam like really enhanced my enjoyment of the season because Sam is so thoughtful in the way that he talks about Maul and the way he talks about what stories they want to tell, what aspects of his character. He gave some like rewatching these after we talked to him, rewatching these episodes with his words in my mind really, really deepened my love and affection for them. I think it's an undeniably beautiful show. There are some shots in the finale. You know, we end with sort of like close up on Maul's face and just those like very like brushwork style of animation around. You know, it just looks painted and beautiful. So I think that's incredible. You know, the last 2 episodes were essentially like 2 long fight scenes, and you know, in Star Wars, and Sam talks about this a bit, but like in Star Wars, a lot of storytelling happens inside of a lightsaber duel.
Absolutely.
It's like a dance number in a musical. Like you can do a lot of storytelling inside of a lightsaber duel. But it's still like, I would have loved even more sort of monologues or you know, people talking in rooms and stuff like that to underpin some of the action. I think the action looked incredible throughout the season. Yeah. I think I would have liked to have known Maul's crew a bit more, you know, like we mourn Spybot. We're like really upset that Spybot is gone, but
I'm
like
despondent.
His entire crew got wiped out, and I didn't really feel like I knew them very well before they're gone. And then we're going to talk about the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors look incredibly cool, but like are still kind of ciphers at the end of the day. Sure. So like action incredible, style incredible. Some of the themes, and especially what Sam talks about, really, really thoughtful and cool. But what I want for season 2 is to go even and deeper and get into more of the philosophy. Yeah, I could just listen to Maul talk, of course, all day long. So that's how I feel about it. How about you?
I loved it. I mean, I'm such a fan of the Star Wars animated shows and often genuinely do think they're Star Wars at its best. And I think like my feelings about Rebels and Clone Wars are long established House of R canon at this point. But, you know, Bad Batch and the Tales of Blank series recently. And I mean, like the Lego Rebuild the Galaxy thing is that's a completely different, you know, aspect of Star Wars storytelling. But just the ability to really express something, visions, like express something really creative and visually arresting, and then use these animated series as an opportunity to open up our understanding of a character in a new moment of the timeline that connects to another point in the timeline. I just really like love these shows. So I thought this was really great. I'm excited to spend more time with Maul. I think that your points just now, Rook and Icarus and the Commandos in general, 11th brother, are the fucker, like, I can't believe Maruk is back. Just astonishing stuff. I think that given, you know, how much, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season, we talked about this a little bit with Sam, there was a real, I think a wise and important effort to say at the beginning of this show, you don't need to feel like you have to do a ton of homework and watch a bazillion hours of these other shows in order to hang, in order to follow this. It'll be very inviting and very friendly if you just want to opt in. And I think that's true. If you have other experiences with Rook and the Mandalorian stretch for Maul and the Commandos and who those characters are, or thinking about like the future of 11th Brother and Maruk, I don't know that it makes it the most riveting part of Shadow Lord, but it's probably like slightly more intriguing. But I think I know you do. Yeah, of course. But I think in some ways, maybe it made it a little bit less impactful counterintuitively, because with the Inquisitors in particular, I don't think, we've talked about this a lot, that Star Wars deaths or any death in any story is the only way to establish stakes. That's not how I feel about it. That's not how we feel about it. However, knowing definitively that 11th Brother's making it out of those fights, that Maruk is making it out of those fights, I think ever so slightly diminished the tension of like whether those characters are going to be okay. Now, it's interesting to think about, like, as Ahsoka fans, the fact that those characters are both in different ways on a collision course toward showdowns with Ahsoka, that Maul has this history with Ahsoka. That's where I think the wider web of connections is, like, interesting for me. But in general, I think the Inquisitors, mostly like outside of Rebels and some comics canon, they're like
they look incredible.
They look incredible.
But it's real Knights of Ren stuff where I'm like, this looks great, but like when you think about, and obviously we're going to talk about Vader a bunch in a second, and there's just so much around Vader as just a piece of iconography that you can never say like Vader's presence feels at all thin. Like that's not something that's possible with a Vader. But I was thinking a lot in the way this is set up, maybe just because there were so many lightsabers flying around. I was thinking of the episode of Acolyte, a show we didn't like love the whole entirety of. Yeah. But that episode Night that we thought was so incredible. And I was just thinking about Chimera the Stranger and like all the other characters. And even though that show didn't successfully like deepen every single character it had to present us, like there was just so much more story wrapped up in a similar sort of like misty nighttime, so many sabers involved kind of showdown. And so the non-Vader part of this sort of paled in comparison to that for me. But with Vader.
Yeah, it was just fantastic.
It's interesting because you and I usually kind of disagree about the use of Vader, whereas I think like Star Wars is a bit over-reliant. That's an understatement. I think they're quite dependent on their trump card, which is Vader, which they will drop anytime they want to like bring some shock and awe to something. And I think often it has not been worth it. And then sometimes it's incredibly worth it. And I think, like in the various like Ahsoka encounters, incredibly worth it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I didn't think it worked very well in the Obi-Wan series. But here, and especially again, hearing Sam talk about it, like Vader and Maul fighting each other, there's real reason for that story to exist. And so it didn't just feel like, well, if we throw Vader at it, like people will be excited and impressed. There's just like real storytelling reason for this to exist. And that was like what Sam and the people who worked on the show said from the beginning, which is like, we don't want to do this Maul show just to like show you Maul who you love and show you lightsabers, which you love, and like bring in Vader, which is always fun, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. We want to make sure we have real story that we're telling here. And so I like, this is contrary to my usual, like Anakin Skywalker again, but this was really important.
This episode is brought to you by Target. Time to talk about one of the most fun pieces from the Pokemon and Target 30th Celebration Collection, the mystery water type Pokemon bottles.
Keyword, mystery. Yes. Each bottle features a different water type Pokemon, but you don't know which one you've got until you open it.
Which, if you're a Pokemon fan, should feel very familiar.
We opened ours.
Yes.
I got Psyduck.
I got Squirtle. So we're calling all trainers. If you want to see which Pokemon you can get, you can find them only at Target for a limited time.
Explore now at Target.com.
I think that's another thing for the Inquisitors. It's like, on the one hand, it makes perfect sense shortly after Order 66 for them to be out on the hunt in such an active way, for them to be engaged in the field with Vader. Like, all of those things track completely. But then it's like the measuring stick is the ultimate measuring stick of like, how cool and how interesting is this? Vader emerging from the mist. You hear the sound before you see him. It just gives you that feeling as a Star Wars fan. I thought the Vader... In general, I really loved the fighting in episode 10 in particular. The like acid pool stuff in 9 less interesting to me, but though again, R.I.P. Spybot, we miss you dearly. The
genuinely devastating.
I was crushed. I gasped aloud in horror.
Real hot bummer.
I mean, the combo, too, of like the swirling lightsaber slice and then the melting in a vat of acid, very tough.
Did Sam give us that update on microphone, or was it after we stopped recording?
I honestly can't remember.
Okay.
Because that was many, many days ago.
If he didn't do it on microphone, we'll give you the follow-up on Thursday when he talked about Spybot.
I thought that the action in episode 10, first of all, just the setting, these ruins on Janix, and then the clashing lightsabers. You have the blue, you have the red, you have the double saber, the double blades, etc. It looked great. It looked cool. The way that people were using their surroundings. Then you have, of course, like the stormtroopers. You've got Lawson. You've got Two Boots. You've got the firing blasters. It was like kind of the choreography was interesting. Who paired off with whom when was interesting. What choices did people make was interesting. I thought that what it told us to the story point, what it told us about like where are we with Maul and his recruitment of Devon, with Daki, who like I think we were both astonished made it this far.
I thought he was going to be gone in like episode 3. He made it all. My guy made it all the way to the finale.
If someone had set the over under at episode 6, I think everyone would have hammered the under. Just no question. You know, who was gonna not like? I think we all felt pretty confident that this was going to end with Maul and Devon setting off on some new journey of master and apprentice from the beginning. But like the question of how and why. Was it because Daki died? Was it because Maul killed him? Was it because
she made an active choice
because she had no choice? Like, so the particulars of actually getting to see what unfolded and how and what remains a mystery to her is very interesting. But just seeing 2 Darth Sidious apprentices here sensing something about each other through the Force, and especially because like, so Maul and Vader have dueled in Legends canon, but not in proper canon. Obviously, in Clone Wars, the end of Clone Wars episodes we just adore. In the conclusion of Clone Wars, we hear Maul talk to Ahsoka about Anakin, talk about this idea of Sidious's grand plan that filters into this season quite actively. You know, later in Twin Sons with Obi-Wan and Rebels, he's talking about the Chosen One. There's an engagement in that way. Obviously, they are both on Malachor in the 2-part finale, Twilight of the Apprentice and Rebels, but to actually watch them trade saber blows, I was like just crack and catnip as a Star Wars fan. I thought it was incredible. But the part that was the best about it, I think undeniably, was that, you know, you see that moment Maul is like, no. Daki is like, that's a Sith Lord. Like, to have these 2 characters who have such shared history and such an impact on each other's lives and the course of their lives, actually an inch away from each other's faces and then making decisions that will impact not only their own circumstances, but the wider galactic history was incredible. So like Maul, you know, Maul getting, you've been like tracking his injuries and the physical limitations throughout the season. And like Vader just comes in right away and knows where to hit him, right? The power of the blows.
Yeah, Sam gave a really good answer about this. So I would love to Sam talking about all the physicality is so good. But I'm curious what you think about Vader as like a silent figure inside of this episode. He's not talking.
I think that's for the best.
Just rasping. Yeah. So tell me, like,
because then
how does that impact you?
I think if he just comes in and is like saying something very directly, first of all, it robs us of getting to watch Maul try to puzzle this out in real time. And so much of this is about their respective connections, not only to the Force, but to the idea of their role in somebody's plan, their own plan. And so I think if Vader is just like talking, it's a little less interesting because it makes him less of an opaque presence, not for us, but for Maul, who's trying to figure it out. So I thought that was just a great choice.
I really agree. Like, I think the way that he's just bumping up, he's frustrated and bumping up against someone who's not giving him anything, right?
Yes.
Like, you're no Inquisitor. That's no Moon. You're no Inquisitor. You know what I mean? Like, but not getting... You know, Vader's not about to be caught monologuing and being like, well, yes, actually, I replaced you and like blah, blah, and all this sort of stuff like that. And so I thought that was like really smart to not have him talk inside of this episode. And I don't know how much of that is informed. I don't know what the state of like Vader voice stuff is for them right now. I actually don't know what the realities of that are, but from a storytelling point of view, I actually really quite liked it. There's this moment when Maul is like leaning against a stone wall and then like gets up and has like a half a second to be like, and then Vader just like comes.
That was scary, actually.
Kool-Aid Man bursting through the wall, like hand first. Very good.
Yeah, it was awesome. And their contrast in styles and circumstances, it was all just really, really riveting and fun to watch. I think also it kind of the silence fits with this larger presence of like, what information do people have and when? Because also that's true for Devon, right? Like we have this, the strange alliances, right? And that was kind of fascinating too to watch. And it's across the season, not just here at the end, who has like sort of found themselves working with either nominal enemies or active foes as recently as an episode prior, who used to be aligned and then there was a rift and then they made their way back to each other looking at YouTube, bootsy piece of shit, etc. But, to watch Maul, Daki, Devon engaging in combat together despite Daki's persistent fear and right at the end, like the fact that he's in your head, that he's calling you, like be on guard, right? All of it.
But also, Maul, if you want to visit me in my dreams,
you're welcome to. She's available.
The channels are open.
She's available. The fact that like this crucial moment, this choice that Maul makes, which like we will get to hear from Maul himself, from Sam, what he thinks is going through Maul's head in that moment of decisive, the choice to walk away.
Not just walk away, but he like force pushes Daki towards Vader.
So tough. And they had been together, then they had split. Maul does this thing. He makes this choice. He has his reasons, but those reasons still put him in a place of being a person that he has spent his life resenting, undeniably. Devon doesn't see that. She sees the outcome, but not his complicity in it. So there's an absence there of information for her too.
What story is he going to tell her?
Exactly. And like that, man, the fact that we get that like voice distortion on Devon. I mean, obviously just the thrill of seeing her take the saber. And like, did she go and bleed her own Kyber crystal? Not yet. But still.
But taking the other, having Maul having the twin blades that can separate and him giving her the other half, like two halves of a best friend necklace.
Exactly.
Is pretty good shit.
Talk about Master and Apprentice, like actually sharing that tool of violence after all of the tap into your rage, and then it's like to watch it surface, to hear it surface, to see it in her eyes. The way she says at the end, I'm ready, and that kind of like crinkle smile on his face of like, okay, here it is, the thing that I have been seeking. And so like, I will kill them all. That's the voice distortion part for Devon. And he's like, you're not strong enough yet, but I'm going to get you there. I'm going to train you. And that's what you need. Or I'm going to tell you it's what you need. And it's what I want. This is a really interesting place for us to be at the end. Maul lost a lot of members of like his crew.
Yeah, but that was the math. That was the trolley problem math he was willing to make. He's like, no question. Basically, I will trade all of you. Yes, you too, Rook cast for Devon. She's the juicier morsel for me. And what's interesting to me is like, what story will he tell? And like, who else in this cast is going to be in season 2 is a question that I have. Because like, you and I both are like, you can't fool me with a run into the mist, like potential fake out death for Lawson. But I could also see like Lawson and Riley and Two Boots like not even being in season 2 if they wanted to strip down the cast even further. I think it would be a shame to lose like Two Boots most of all as a Richard Ayoade fan. Yeah, I love his politics, especially not Richard Ayoade, but Two Boots. But like, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, how much do we strip down to Master and Apprentice? And in contrast to the point you were making about the Inquisitors, like we know those 2 Inquisitors are gonna be fine.
Right.
We know that Devon and Maul are not together forever.
No.
And that's a kind of filling in the gap storytelling that I like, where I'm just sort of like, but I don't know what's going to happen. Is it that Devon dies, like Maul kills her, or Maul kills her, or Vader kills her, or something like that? Or, and this is like always my preference to give me something more interesting, does she make a choice to leave him? Do they have a like more?
If you had to say now, put money down now.
I think based on some things that Sam said in our interview, he didn't give any spoilers, but just sort of like based on the future attitude Maul has towards other characters, I think she decides to leave and he lets her go. That would be my
I think
it's the opposite.
I think she will decide to leave too. Yeah. I don't know about the letting her go part, but I think he will be destroyed once again by the idea of not being chosen. I think the question is
he's going to be devastated.
Yeah, how
but
far
I don't
in
think
the future is this?
But I don't think he's going to stop her. Is what I think.
Rebels is like so far in the future of the canon. We also have, of course, his hollow chat with Kira and Solo.
Of course.
And so we have Dryden Voss here now. And
everyone's thinking about Solo.
That's closer, but still pretty far away. Mm-hmm. Like, is Devon still with him? Mm-hmm. Then, how much of the story of the future of Maul in these next years of the canon are the Master and Apprentice stuff? How much crime syndicate stuff?
So you're saying they should release Solo back in theaters, a respecialized edition with Devon just in the background of the holo?
I mean, they've done it before in Star Wars.
I know.
They've done it before. I know. Let's get Devon right in the little corner of the holo. Make it happen. I think the fact that Devon's I will kill them all about Darth Vader does at least, of course, leave open the possibility that she just gets killed by Darth Vader at some point, or the Inquisitors. That could happen. But I agree with you. It'd be much more interesting especially if this is a decent chunk of time.
Yeah.
And they go through their training. Mm-hmm. She has fallen to the dark side. And then we've seen a Star Wars redemption story before, but they work for a reason. If she pulls herself out of that into another path, and Maul once again is I have not been chosen. Of course, Maul has also lost people in other ways. Savage Opress, Mother Talzin, etc. It's not always people just choosing someone else. Sometimes they are just killed brutally.
Forever a lonely boy.
Palpy killing his new apprentice would also be... That would be the ultimate wound for him. 1A, 1B with her just deciding to leave.
Can't let me have this one thing.
That would also be amazing. Yeah. Not that I'm rooting for Devon to be killed, to be clear. But...
Sounds like you are.
I mean, you
don't like women. It's
canon. It's canon. So we lost Spybot, brutal. We lost Daki later than we thought. Various members of Maul's crew, as we noted. And then so Lawson, are we officially saying we don't think he's dead? So he did take a couple blaster wounds.
He did.
But he puts the cannon down, blaster out,
various
into the
sabers
fog.
To the gut in various live action Star Wars shows, and they've been fine. So
yeah, it's not even show me a corpse in Star Wars. It's whatever is beyond
you've been cut in half.
You're fine.
No problem.
Just
spider
look at Maul. Exactly.
Legs.
Get some spider legs. So I think it's possible that Lawson is still alive. I think it's interesting that Riley thinks he's dead, though, because Riley and Devon, he's Lawson's two boots, get Riley to his mom over in the Empire. So maybe just Riley begins his life as a Empire stooge. But the fact that he and Devon, these two teens who have kind of already hit it off over a number of episodes, now have this trauma bond of
trauma bond. Yeah, but it's interesting because Riley goes internal and she goes rage external. And I do think it would be interesting to have these two characters grappling with similar, parallel losses, but in different ways. And if he's the pull to the light side now that Daki's gone or something like that for her. I did, this morning sort of check out some people's recaps, reviews or whatever of the episode. And a lot of people were we don't think Riley's going to be in the upcoming seasons. And I'm I don't know. I think Star Wars animation wants a couple teenage characters. I think they like to have young characters around. Your Ahsokas, your Ezras, your whatever, to engage young people watching the show. So I think as much as I want to watch a psychosexual drama between Devon and Maul, that's what Acolyte Season 2 is supposed to be. I think Star Wars Animation wants to give us a romp adventure with a couple of teens along for the ride. So,
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens with the whole Lawson family. I don't know.
Is it interesting that Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 is set up to be kind of what Acolyte Season 2 was going to be?
Yes. I think that these stories about Acolyte's second life on streaming. It was always on streaming, but the Discovery, I'm I haven't totally given up hope that there's a future there, I guess. Is it possible that they could say, let's still do it?
Let's do it.
Why not?
Let's do it. We had our many notes for Acolyte Season 1, but we had some positive things to say.
Absolutely. So that would be fun if we got to do Acolyte Season 2 at some point.
Acolyte was largely there's so much good here. We would love to excavate the good for Season 2. I would love to see it.
Excavate those back scars and back muscles and just a lot of stuff about the stranger's back. That was very important. Very important scene.
Set them up.
Obviously, even if we one day had the pleasure of watching Acolyte Season 2, nobody would be able to say that Maul didn't have a claim to I'm going to train you now as a storyline. So we can do it with Maul no matter what.
For sure.
What balance do you want between the Master and Apprentice story with Maul and Devon given how central that is, not just to Maul's canon, but to his psychology with the crime syndicate stuff, now that Dryden Voss is here.
Yeah, can I say 99.9% Master and Apprentice stuff?
Okay, so not a lot of room for Dryden Voss and his face scars.
I have to say.
Not a fan.
I don't think they did a great job matching Paul Bettany's charisma.
I did think he looked hot as a cartoon.
He looked good, but I don't think the voice was a great.
The voice was
it
a
doesn't
little
have to
surprising.
match, but it because the Maul voice isn't an exact imitation. We've seen other people take on, the animated Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like there's like great people who have taken over a previously existing live action performance. This did not hit for me the way that Bettany did in Solo.
What if the ship they had flown in on for their very subtle extraction attempt had been the First Light pleasure yacht? Would that have changed your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. There's our note.
It's my note.
There's
for
our
season
note.
2.
All right. So as usual, you remain uninterested in Crimson Dawn and anything that connects to the canon of Solo, a Star Wars story. Sad but true.
Yeah, it's just me. It's just me against the world.
You against the world.
I'm the only one.
Everyone else agrees.
Yeah.
Everyone else agrees.
Yeah.
# make Solo 2 happen. We are getting season 2 of Maul. What else? What else do you want to see in season 2 of Shadow Lord?
Again, I would just love. I would love more. Like, I would be happy to see Palpy if we got some like good Palpatine Maul, like you abandoned me shit. That would be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe run into like one of the other million Jedi out there on the run and just sort of like to get some, hey, what are you doing, Devon? Moments from other Jedi might be interesting.
That feels important given how much of Maul's initial pitch, even though the initial pitch is not really what worked, you do have to wonder about the incepting and the seed planting and the slow march across the season.
Somebody
to the
walks through your
outcome.
dreams. It's,
Maul. What if that's the name of season 2? We had
Maul
Shadow
Inception?
Lord.
Dreamwalker. Yeah. That'd be great.
Who says no?
Not us.
Not us. I can't wait for season 2. I thought season 1 was so fun. I'm glad we're getting this time with Maul. Excited to see Devon fall to the dark side. I hope that Lawson is alive and well, even though he's peppered with blaster holes. Shout out Icarus, by the way. Speaking of peppered with blaster holes, I know we already mourned him for like 2 seconds, but let's just say he basically took the Boromir arrow level of blaster fire, but then still was like, I am going to gather in my arms every stormtrooper I can hold and take them with me into this acid vat.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty great.
That was sick.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
I don't have that in me in my final moments.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I want to be in a comfortable bed. I went to Tyrion Lannister with a couple anatomical tweaks to his very specific scenario that he sketched out. All right. It's time for our wonderful conversation with Sam Witwer, Maul himself. All right, it is the thrill of our lives to be here with Sam Witwer. We have been kind of trying to manifest this on the pod for a very long time, this conversation. And now here you are at the end of the Shadow Lord Season 1 run to talk about everything that has ever happened in Star Wars animation, in your life, in Maul's life. We'll see where it goes. We have obviously questions about the finale.
Do you see the fear in my eyes?
No,
as you're saying
what I see is
time.
anticipation and joy.
You told us this is the first time you're going to say certain words into a microphone.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to those secret words pretty soon. We obviously have questions about the finale and where things went across the season, but let's start with a little bit more of a big picture.
Why not?
Stretch here about your relationship to this character, because you've been playing Maul for more than a decade, which is just an amazing stretch of time to be able to like inhabit a character and embody a character.
Yeah.
Does it even feel like a job to you at this point, or is it just like a second skin?
Well, I do know him fairly well.
Yeah.
It's a situation. There have been other jobs where I've been trying to figure out a character and there'd be some passage of dialogue or something and I wouldn't know what to do with it because I didn't know the character yet. And just as an experiment, I'm like, well, what would Maul make of this? No matter what the character is, I would say the passage is Maul. And he had a lot of opinions about this passage, like in terms of what certain words meant and how he felt about what he was saying. And so, yeah, I've come to realize that we've done enough work to where he is there. He will manifest if I ask him to show up. Yeah. But what's interesting is that with Shadow Lord,
Yeah.
this is in fact a new version of the character. I mean, every time we came back to him, it's you got to do something new. Otherwise, don't bring the character back.
Right.
What would be the point? We already did those things. So, there's early Clone Wars. There's Spider Maul, which is his own thing.
Our favorite.
Yeah, we love Spider Maul.
There's the old sad Rebels Maul.
That's right.
And then this is a different thing. This is the Shadow Lord. So
he's changed, obviously, but in terms of your relationship to him, like, what has been the most significant change in your understanding of him as a character from when you first encountered him, taking over the role from other folks who worked on it, until now? What has changed in your understanding of Maul?
Well, as he has evolved, one of the first things that we established was his hurt and vulnerability. The Spider Maul thing really was an opportunity to make the statement that the dark side isn't a fun place to live.
Yes.
And that there was something human in there that was screaming and expressing quite a bit of discomfort. What's fun about him now, as he's evolved, is that he's at war with himself, which is in fact the dark side. The dark side, these characters are at war with themselves. And unless you're, perhaps Palpatine is fine with where he's at. Very possible.
Palpy loves it.
Sleeps well at night.
Loves it.
But even then, I mean, I'd heard, it's out there that George is at some point was going to give Palpatine a love interest and stuff like that. So,
I mean,
George always
those lakes on Naboo for Sheev,
Why would he not? That's where he's from, right?
Exactly.
That's where he comes from. That's where he vacations. But with Maul, ultimately, he's trying to do things. He's trying to accomplish things. He's trying to, in his own way, affect a positive change. But between the good intentions and the actions is a giant gulf.
Yeah.
And the intentions are only as good as the actions really at the end of the day. Are you, as a human being, are you doing the right thing or are you doing something that hurts someone, right? And for Maul, unfortunately, the gulf between intention and action is the difference between good and evil. So that's really where the character lives. You need to watch these characters making choices.
Yeah.
That's what makes them teachable in a mythological sense. You need to watch them make the right choice or the wrong choice. And so that's the challenge. That's my job, is to really try to make those choices interesting. And that's what we talk about, me and Brad and Matt and Athena, over and over and over and over again.
We were curious to ask you about that kind of sense of authorship that you have over the character, because, you've been working with, you mentioned George, you mentioned all of these other creators who are helping to shape this world in so many vibrant ways. And you've been working with Dave Filoni on the Maul front since day one. And obviously his role at Lucasfilm has changed considerably, but his interest in Maul hasn't. That's a constant, right? The desire to keep returning to Maul's story. And so how did that manifest inside of Shadow Lord, but also just what does it do for you with your relationship to this character that you feel like you are actively helping to craft the canon as you portray him?
I think there comes a time where if the actor's been around long enough and it's been a successful enough character, that I suppose there's some understanding that you may want to get that person in early if you're working with that character. Because me and Dave, Dave brought me in early with Clone Wars.
Right.
It wasn't just, hey, I want you to do Maul, and then I show up and record lines. That was not the process. The process was we were thinking about that character months before we recorded a single line, and we'd have these recurring discussions that would last 1 to 2 hours on the phone. We were obsessive about it, talking about the character, who he was, what drives him, what we were going to learn about him. And he also furnished me with as many scripts as they had, which I work better with more information.
Sure,
Always. And Dave set me up to succeed in that way. And, it was either because Dave really, really cared about the character, or he knew that I was a really, really green voice actor. It was one or the other, or both, that he gave me the extra help. But he furnished me with a lot of his time. And I remember recording some of the first Maul, because we're always working with the other actors if we can. We're always in ensemble if we can pull that off. But I was shooting a series in Montreal at the time, so we had to get a studio and I had to record some stuff separately. And so I remember some of the first records of Maul were from Montreal.
Okay.
Others were with Clancy in LA.
Yeah.
If I could fly back, I would. But I remember I had great pride because I was so proud. I was so very proud because Clone Wars at the time was this little thing that we didn't know if anyone was really watching. It had certainly been lambasted by certain critics and stuff like that, but we thought it was great.
Yeah.
We thought it was cool. So, and I was a fan of the show before I was brought in to play the son of Mortis. So we were recording Maul, and I was so proud because at some point during a break, the engineers at the studio in Montreal said, "Who's this guy that's directing you?" I'm like, "That's Dave Filoni." He's like, "Tell us about Dave Filoni." I'm like, "Oh, well, he's kind of George's protege." I told them all about Dave. And they're like, I'm like, "Why are you asking?" And they're like, "Because this is among the best direction and most concise, we know exactly what we're going for direction we've ever heard. And we've been doing this forever. We've been doing features, voiceover, live action, everything. We want to know more about this guy." These two guys that ran the studio, they were fascinated by just hearing Dave work with me. And I was so proud. I was like,
"That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we're doing something cool. I think this is cool.
Yeah.
I like this." And it's nice to hear from people who have they weren't getting paid to say that. They just thought what they were hearing was really interesting to them. And they're like, "So you're Darth Maul, but he's dead. Well, how do you know?" So it was, it was moments like that I was like, I think we're doing good work. I hope we're doing good work. I think we are. So
love that we got a Mortis mention already.
I know.
It's a thrill for us. We're huge Mortis heads.
Are you?
Oh yeah,
we are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was where I became a voice actor. That particular job. I'd done. I guess the Palpatine character in The Force Unleashed was kind of a voice job, but it was also we shot it on camera, so it was something I was familiar with. When it came to Mortis, I really needed Dave's help to convert a live action actor into a voice actor, and there's a whole story behind that too, where he helped me create that character.
Do you want to tell that story?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of epic, and it leads directly to Darth Maul. Basically, what happened was this. In live action, sometimes what they need is they need an organism to put on camera that's going to react in a very particular, honest way. And sometimes that can be very compelling. Yeah. So there have been times where I showed up for a live action gig and I had some ideas, but I sort of trusted, I know how to do this. Something special is going to happen. Let's do that. So I maybe had a little too much faith in that. And I show up for the Mortis job. And I didn't have as strong ideas as I should have. And I started floundering as far as I'm concerned. I started it was just a little too generic. It was just, I was really having trouble. And I'm surrounded by Ashley and James and Matt. Dee was in it for a little bit. Yeah. And they're in their season 3 mode. So we were watching season 2, but they're working on season 3 now. And I'm hearing them so dialed in to their characters. I'm not. And I'm told in no uncertain terms that I am meant to play the dark side of the Force.
Right.
That's a theme. Easy. That's not a character. Easy. That's a theme. How do you play a theme? Right. Yeah. So I'm not doing great. And it was sort of generic. And that sort of magic that I was hoping would just arrive is not arriving. And I know it. And I raised my hand at some point. And, Dave is that guy that I've seen in some interviews and stuff like that, right? I said, "Hey, Dave, is it? Are we concerned that the son of Mortis is just kind of sounding a little bit like a generic version of Starkiller?" Is what I said. Mm-hmm. And Dave knew exactly what was happening with me. He's like, "Oh, this guy's, he's treading water. He's having trouble." So I watched him manufacture a response that was designed to give me confidence, which is, another way of saying lie. But he said this. He said, "Well, you have to understand, Sam," without missing a beat, by the way. He goes, "You have to understand that the character of Starkiller had a connection to the dark side of the Force, and your character is the dark side of the Force. So it's okay if they sound similar. It's all right. Wow. It's all right, man.
He built a bridge for
just
you.
Do that."
Yeah.
Which did help my confidence, being like, dude, it's cool.
Yeah.
But that's not what got me. Like there were neurons in my brain when he said that started going absolutely nuts, and I couldn't understand why. Like, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. I'm like, he's just hit on something, and I don't have time to realize what this is. But thank God the character doesn't have that much dialogue right now, because in the next 2 episodes, he just talks the whole way through. Yeah, this one, he only had a few lines.
Right.
So I'm driving home from that session, and the neurons are now taking over my brain. They're spreading to other neurons, connection to the dark side of the Force. So he can sound like Starkiller because of the connection to the... Well, wait a second. That only makes sense if the Son of Mortis sounds like every character in Star Wars that had a connection to the dark side of the Force.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's holy... And I'm getting excited even thinking about this. So then I went home and I'm like, I have something to work on now.
Yeah.
So I grabbed those scripts and I was like, okay, wait. In the top of this line... it's sort of, that could be a Vader moment. And then it could slip into a Palpatine moment. And then it can go Dooku, a little bit of Maul here. But it will always be with my voice, but the cadence will shift. And maybe the tone will shift slightly. I'll never dip fully into the character, but I'll tip it toward these different characters. And when I came back and we started performing it, I started doing that. And Dave just smiled. And he just goes, and he literally, just right away, he knew exactly what I was doing. He goes, I see what you're doing. And I'm like, and I got really self-conscious. I'm like, oh, should I stop doing that? Should I not? He's like, no. You do it more. That's the character. That's who this is. That's how we portray the dark side of the Force.
Awesome.
And so at that point, we were going for it. Like Dave's like, hey, can you throw a little this and that? Yeah, let's do it. Remember that moment in, The Empire Strikes Back or, and then Attack of the Clones? And we just started throwing things in. And yes, there were moments that were meant to feel like Darth Maul. So later when we were doing pickups, Dave's like, he goes, I know you have a lot of friends at Lucasfilm. I'm like, I do, from Force Unleashed. He's like, you've probably heard we're going to bring Maul back. And I'm like, yeah, I have. And he's like, what do you think about that? I'm like,
oh, wow.
That's a tall order, man. You could get that wrong. And he's just nodding and smiling. And he goes, cool. Well, dude, thanks for coming in. I think we might have something for you, down the road. I'm like, cool, like a bounty hunter? I'd love to play a bounty hunter. And he's just kind of gives me this look like, yeah.
No.
Just like totally didn't understand what he was talking to me about. No clue. And then he called me up and he said, I need Darth Maul. Can you do it? He called me up some months later. And when he said it, can you do it? He wasn't saying, I could hear it in his voice. He wasn't saying like, hey, are you available? Are you interested in doing Darth Maul? He was saying, am I making a mistake by going to you for this? Please be honest with me. Can you do it?
Yeah.
And because when I was lacking of confidence, he gave me a very reassuring lie that created my character and turned me into a voice actor. I must have felt like I can hear that he has a little lack of confidence. So let me lie right back. Yes, I can do that. Surely I could do it right now, but I don't feel like it, So, and again, I'm making fun. We weren't lying to each other as we were trying to get on the same page and help each other, which is the whole key to a collaboration. You're trying to hear what the other person's priorities are. And you go, okay, all right, I can incorporate that. I can figure out a way to do that while threading the needle of the things that I think I need to build,
And he says, I have 2 words for you, spider legs. And you're like, I'm in.
You're like, I'm in.
I'm in, baby.
Spider legs. Spider Maul. We talked about Spider Maul so very much. When he told me about that, it was just this wonderful, mythological, the dark side gone wrong, these legs constructed of garbage held together by the dark side of the Force. It was pretty intense. Yeah.
What you've described here sounds like an incredible mind meldy sort of collaboration. But I'm curious at this point, so far into playing Maul, do you have any, violating all rules of improv, no but rules about Maul? Like Maul would not do that when that comes to you?
I'm sure I do. You could. I've been the scourge of Matt and Brad, poor Matt and poor Brad on the show. I can't think of any hard and fast rules, but yeah, you better believe there was one. Yeah, recently in a recent session, they asked me to say something, and I said, I don't quite know how he would say that. And because Matt and Brad are so talented, they're like, well, what about this? And they came up with an alternative, and I was like, oh, well, that's fantastic. Okay. Yeah. That's great. So yes, there's a certain flavor, and it feels right or it feels wrong.
Right.
So that's and Brad encourages me to be stubborn. Brad is terrific. I mean, you've seen the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Brad's kind of,
It's excellent.
it's a little bit like a film school, Lucasfilm. It really is. And it started with George and branched out through Dave. And we all had the opportunity on the Clone Wars to work under George, for George, to tell his stories and learn what his storytelling priorities are. Now, no one knows that better than Dave.
Sure.
There is truly no one who understands Star Wars better than Dave. But what's fun is because we were there, we all feel like we're part of a group of people. Maddie was there as well, Matt Miknovitz, and Athena's been there always. And we kind of know when it feels right and we know when it feels wrong. And we get to have discussions about the things that we've learned
Right.
over the past more than a decade or 2 decades or whatever it's been.
Well, one of the interesting things, about the setting and the time frame for the show is that it is between a lot of those prior experiences, right?
Yeah.
So this is such a fascinating time in Maul's canonical timeline because we know so much about what came before, right? We've got Duel of the Fates, we've got the Trash Heap Planet Spider Leg stretch, we've got, Morning Savage Press and Mother Talzin, we have the Mandalore takeover, we have Shadow Collective, right? We have being with Ahsoka as Order 66 is unfolding, everything, right? But then we also have, in the distance, Ezra, Malachor, twin sons, right? So given that there's this rich stretch to mine and explore more fully in between, what were you either heading into season 1 or now at the end of season 1 moving forward into subsequent seasons, most excited to get to navigate and mine in this stretch of the Maul canon? Was there a question that you were most hoping to answer either for yourself or for fans?
Yeah.
What was it? What was it? Tell us.
Well, for me, it started immediately when I heard that we were doing this show. The question that leapt to my mind is, why is it that he showed Ezra respect at times? Even though he was trying to manipulate him, I'm not saying he wasn't. But then when Ezra eventually, he says, hey, we could be brothers, Ezra goes, no, I'm never going to join you. And Maul is clearly hurt and then ends up stopping whatever that instinct was about to become. And then he laughs and shakes his head and walks off and says, Ezra Bridger, and leaves him alone. Now, whether Maul was planning to get back to him later or not is open for debate, but you can't imagine Palpatine doing something like that.
Right.
The moment someone said, no, this is never happening, you're dead.
Right.
Whereas Maul's like, man,
what a character.
Yeah, wow, look what you just did. You just stood up to me. That's impressive. And he works alone in Rebels. And we've seen that Maul can take over a planet in an afternoon if he wants to.
Right.
Yeah.
Why does he not do that? Why does he let Ezra go? All these different things. And yes, of course, he he's got other things he's doing, but I always got the feeling that Maul was at the end of his rope and had no place to go in Rebels.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm like, well, what happens that made him like that? Something has changed him drastically from Clone Wars to Rebels, hugely. And it can only be Devon Azara. So that's the thought.
Given what we've seen here in season 1, what would you say so far that you can say about their connection that would lead him there?
Well, it's interesting. In episode 3, he's calling out that he's got her number. He understands her. He's like, you were training to achieve something that few could, only to be denied.
Right.
You crave that unfulfilled destiny. And it's all landing on her, all of it. However, him being able to manipulate her like that kind of goes both ways because he's talking about himself. It's one of the interesting things that Matt Miknovitz and his writers did in this season. First of all, one of the most brilliant things is the fact that, and I've told him I love this, the fact that Maul trains an apprentice by just going, hi, how's it going? Darth Maul, I'm training you now. And then he just every time you bump into him,
You're his
whether you
apprentice
like
now.
it or not.
I mean,
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Wow.
Whether
Jealous.
you like it or not, you're being trained. Every time
Yes.
he encounters her, there's a new lesson, and it's a specific lesson. Okay, now we're going to the next lesson. You passed that test.
Mhm.
And so by the end of the season, you're like, yeah, he's been training her this whole time.
Yeah.
And she's been absorbing those rules and those that training, those thoughts. So I always thought that was absolutely fascinating. But the thing that Maul didn't anticipate is that he recognizes through this that it's like, Palpatine was awful to me and he abandoned me.
Yeah.
Well, if I hate that guy so much, I'm kind of a hypocrite if I do the same thing. That means actually I have no leg to stand on. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
He has no leg to stand on.
Yep.
But he would say, I have no leg to stand on when it comes to his treatment of me. If I do the same thing, I'm the same guy. So I deserve that treatment. But if I'm better than him morally, then I can righteously be indignant at Palpatine, righteously be indignant at the Empire, and I will treat her better than I was treated. But the problem is, he was raised by Palpatine. So is he equipped to do, does he even know what that looks like?
Well,
that's a
conflict inside the human heart.
It's the only thing worth writing
It really
about,
is.
as we like to say on our Game of Thrones pods. We wanted to ask you about exactly this. We're in full-blown finale spoilers territory now, okay?
Here we go.
So, and we've got a couple other
2
things to cover
years.
on that front as well. But exactly what you just said was something we wanted to talk to you about more, because part of, we love seeing that conflict in Maul, right? It's part of what makes him just such a delicious and compelling character, those contradictions. So much of his recruitment of Devon across the season was like, let's break through those reductive binaries. It's not what you think it is. It's
We're
not
so
just good
different,
and
you and
evil.
I.
I'm not who you think I am. But at the end of the day, we're about to say the words Darth Vader. Make sure you have watched
Yeah, spoiler alerts.
the finale before you listen to the rest of this. When it comes down to it, he's made his pitch, tap into the rage. Daki has said teamwork.
Not going to happen. Daki is like, we are not betraying those principles.
Exactly. They have aligned. They have fought together. It is like mesmerizing in so many respects.
Well,
and then
at the same time, they're not quite getting along. You can tell that Maul's getting frustrated by this guy going like, you're not doing the thing. And I happen to know a little bit about this fight. I know more than anyone about this fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the expert on what's happening in this fight.
Yes.
And the people that he's trying to survive with are like, you were really not listening.
And we
That's
want to
one of the
ask in a
things
minute
happening in
about
the
what
fight.
he's like sensing in Vader too, because obviously that is a very rich text
It
as well. But
could
like,
be open to debate as to how much Maul knows.
Yeah.
I have very specific thoughts. Well, obviously,
Ooh,
we
I
need
like-
to know what he knows, and then the audience, they own it after that.
Can we just
let's
like,
lean into
what
that.
What are those thoughts?
Yeah, tell us every. Let's. I mean,
Okay,
Maul
well, no,
finally
it's-
fights Darth Vader. We get
it's
to watch them duel.
Right. It's debatable that Maul has sussed out by the end of the fight exactly what he's up against.
Yeah.
If this is just an Inquisitor, which Maul says, you're no Inquisitor.
Right.
But let's say it was.
Right.
Maul would still be like, hey, dude, these folks can know who trained you based on how you're fighting.
Yes.
So you got to change it up.
Right.
It's not going to work. Your Jedi playbook is well read by these folks. They know what you're doing. So your only chance to survive is if you listen to what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got to do? You got to go nuts.
Yeah.
Lose all those principles. Absolutely tap into your rage. Give it all up so that you become unpredictable. And unfortunately, that would be damaging to the Jedi psyche,
Right.
To play dirty,
Yeah.
to use the tools of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But Maul already does that. So he's like, well, I'm the only one fighting this fight, you maniacs. What's wrong with you people? So, he is truly trying to get through that, but he does not feel like his teammates are.
Yeah.
And so, of course, if he knows what must be done for the greater good, he's trying to get people out alive.
Mm-hmm.
He is also trying to topple an empire that is hurting trillions of beings.
It's a lot on the to-do list.
It's a hefty list.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the pieces that are on the table and he goes, okay, well, I'm going to have to move this along. And so he moves a few pieces into certain places.
Yes.
That's a way to put
That's
it.
a very generous way of saying he abandons Daki, who is then murdered by Darth Vader, and Devon sees the outcome, but not Maul's choice.
And
So
what does that do to Devon? Now she's finally getting it. Now
Yes.
she's fighting. Now she can survive.
Takes his saber in her hand, fires up that red blade.
And the trick is the audience gets to decide in terms of that equation of Maul's decision.
Yeah.
Is it simply, I want an apprentice and I'm going to get her?
Right.
Yeah, maybe that's a little in there, but what else is in there? this guy isn't listening. He's going to get us all killed. Well, that's also in there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if I don't act fast, Devon's going to die. I can hear that she's struggling. I can feel in the force that she's struggling. She's not ready for this fight.
Yeah.
If I hesitate much longer, she may not survive. And what did I promise in the previous episodes? That I would not allow Palpatine to do to another young person what he did to me. So I have a responsibility to do something. So Maul has this good intent, but like I said, there's a gulf between the intent and the action.
Yeah. How aware of is he of that hypocrisy?
Well, that's the thing. He was
like, he's manipulating her, to your point, just like Palpatine manipulated him, and
he does
saying,
exactly
I'm doing it differently.
Because who trained Maul? Who raised Maul? He was raised by Palpatine. These are the tools he has at his disposal to carry out whatever his goals are, whatever his heart is.
Yeah.
So you understand, this is not someone, for Maul, him and Palpatine are so different.
Mm-hmm.
There are lines Maul would never cross that Palpatine would just blow right past. But from the outside, I don't know that other characters would look at Maul and Palpatine and see that world of difference. They'd say, you guys look a lot similar. You guys are the same guy, you know?
Yeah.
Maul doesn't see it that way. Maul's like, no, what I'm doing is totally different.
Right.
And Daki wasn't getting with the program. So what do Jedi do? They sacrifice? Okay. Do it.
You're up. Yeah.
Wow, impressive defense attorney work from Sam Witwer on behalf of Maul.
Incredible. Yeah.
The interesting thing, the interesting thing about evil in real life or in drama is that evil will always use its intellect to do the mental gymnastics to justify whatever is going on. So, and again, the whole key with Maul and what keeps him as an interesting character, because look, if he wasn't making choices and constantly motivated by all the same things that we're motivated by, then he becomes Skeletor. Skeletor, which is great for the cartoon that I grew up on, it's great for He-Man, but would not be good for Star Wars.
Right.
That's not what we're doing. Maul, there really is some good intention in there. He meant what he said when he said, I won't let him do this to anyone else. Yeah. And he feels that he is following through on that directive. But if you zoom out, the audience may disagree with him and go, oh, I see what you think you're doing, pal, but like that?
Right.
And for Maul, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Did you want us all to die? We're living in a very tough world. This galaxy is constantly trying to kill you, especially with the Empire there. There's no choice. I made the only rational choice necessary. Oh, and I'm sorry that this guy went down. He wouldn't get with the program.
Trolley problem, right?
Always.
And so again, and that's the other thing about the dark side. The dark side constantly points the finger outward. It's everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So Maul is being more reflective in this series than we've ever seen him to be.
Right.
But I don't know that, I mean, you know, I play the character, so I'm like I'm meant to be his advocate, you know? I'm Nick Nolte in Cape Fear, but I do eventually have to go, you know, I don't know if I agree with this guy, you know, because ultimately this is a very damaged character. And again, and what I was going to say about the training of Devon throughout the season. One of the brilliant things that Matt Miknovitz and the writers did was they not only had that method by which Maul trained Devon, but you're learning about Maul based on what he says about Devon. Right. You're learning, and we're treating this show like we're introducing Maul to a new audience because you have to, you know?
Yeah.
You have to invite people into our cool Star Wars
imagine
world.
This is the first entree for someone into Star Wars.
I'm hearing from people who it is.
That's exciting.
And it works for them, which is
really
like, good. We want it to, you know?
Yeah.
Of course,
By the time you get to 108, you get deeper into his mythology. But I think it's a really compelling thing that you can sense that Maul says these things to Devon because they're true of him.
Right.
And so, and that's the other thing. Devon recognizes that like spirit in them.
Yeah.
And the tragedy of Maul is that it needn't have gone in this direction, but he never had the support. He never had people who provided him alternatives in the same way that Obi-Wan Kenobi provided Luke a world of alternatives.
Kenobi.
Yeah, that guy. You know? So...
She couldn't resist. I wanted to ask you, not to just dwell too long on spider legs, but something that I think is interesting in this finale episode is, Maul's fighting style is so lithe, so limber, but then several times this season he bumps up against the physical limitations of his mechanical parts. Another mirror reflection of Vader, et cetera. But I'm just curious, what's interesting to you about really exploring that a couple times this season, the physical limitations of this version of Maul?
Well, the discussions were the fact that, I've said a few times in interviews that there were certain ideas that I would throw at Dave that I thought would be interesting to explore with Maul, and Dave would very quickly say, well, cool idea, but this isn't Maul's show. You can't get into those nitty-gritty details. I never dreamed that Dave was thinking there could be a Maul show, so I thought it was just these ideas were going to go nowhere. But one of the things that I have always been interested in exploring was he's a cyborg,
right?
And his legs were issued to him, the ones he has now, by a guy who didn't expect him to be alive for more than a year. He doesn't have Vader hardware. Right. Whether the hardware that Vader employs is painful for him to use or not, you have to believe that it's pretty good. It's probably pretty expensive and top shelf stuff that Vader's using. Maul's isn't that. Things like the way that Maul and Vader fight, you have to understand that Maul's striking power, for example, let's just go one, there's so many different things we've talked about. But one of the things we talked about is like his striking power is not what it used to be. Why? Well, because in order to coil like a snake and strike, that requires the kinetic chain from the ground all the way through your legs, through your core, this and that, through your, shoulders, arms, into the striking surface of the blade.
Yeah.
How does he do that when this is all interrupted?
Right.
That's not the same thing, right? Vader's stuff is higher grade. You can imagine General Grievous spend as much money as he possibly could. He's a looks maxer.
Yeah.
But Maul, Grievous is
incredible.
But so Maul is operating on constantly compensating. One of the thoughts I had was when he's fighting Ahsoka, I'm like, how difficult that must be to balance on those beams with these legs.
Yeah, one of our favorite.
They're not really made for that, know. And so, so for that reason, Vader's superior striking ability, the fact that he's so strong and has figured out how to use those limbs to enhance the strength rather than detract the strength, because Maul's strength comes from the agility. Vader's has brute force, and you imagine that his hardware is also designed for brute force. Maul can't compete with that when their blades meet.
Right.
He's not ready for that. He doesn't have that striking power anymore. There's also the matter of Vader sees things before they happen. We know that. And so Vader does not have to move as fast for his blade to be exactly where it needs to be at the right time. He's just like, yep, and it's there, and it's there. Now I go here, now there. Force push you, do this. He's a machine. He's also totally prepared for the fight. He's already done all of the reconnaissance and intel that he could possibly need to know exactly how to take this guy apart. He has Inquisitors reporting back. You can imagine they've recorded all of those fights. Vader's like, okay, I get it.
Right.
I know what this guy's about.
Tape. He's always walking it back.
What is one of the first things Vader does? Boom, right to the legs.
Right. Yeah. Gives him a little hip flexor injury.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's trying, so it's not in any stretch of the imagination a fair fight.
Right.
But it is a rich fight and full of character and interest, I think.
Well, obviously we have to linger on this for another moment because, we just can't really overstate what a big deal it is that we got to watch Maul and Vader duel. This is like the good shit here.
You're among the first people in the world to see this. And this is the first time I can ever speak about it in 2 years.
I mean,
so
this
I'm
is
feeling
incredible. What a
very
treat.
off balance and terrified right now.
You're so safe.
This is a safe space.
I'm not sure that I am. I feel like there's, Lucasfilm snipers up in the, red dot. Oh, God. Yeah.
Safe space here in the ruins on Janix, plenty of places to hide. You've alluded to a couple of things that we wanted to ask you about this. Like, what is Maul aware of and kind of navigating and sensing in real time? Vader's preparation and heightened awareness in a number of respects, which gives him the edge. Of course, we as viewers are bringing so much to this, so much of the shared history as well. Like, we're seeing them, two of the most iconic characters in one of the most iconic franchises in the history of the world. So right away, it's like, big deal, right? They've dueled in Legends, but not in the canon. They're both on Malachor and Twilight of the Apprentice, but they're not fighting, right?
Maul's like, I'm not going anywhere near that guy.
Exactly, yeah. He's like, Kanan, sure.
Right.
Vader,
He's like, been there, no thank you.
No, he talks to Ahsoka at the end of Clone Wars about Anakin, about Sidious's plans, but like this actual showdown is a huge deal. The action is electric, we have all of that, but then we're thinking shared master, Sidious. Kenobi, right? Who only becomes Anakin's master because Maul kills Qui-Gon.
Kenobi, who wounded them both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we can, in real time, as the peril and the action are unfolding, see that there's an awareness that is building in Maul. He is sensing something.
That's right. And he's trying to make sense of it, and he's going, please let me be wrong.
Right. So
Please
what is it?
let me
What
be
is he
wrong.
thinking?
Yeah.
What is he feeling? How sure is he?
Dave told me all about the backstory of the Siege of Mandalore, which was that Maul was having these recurring nightmare visions about a central Force user that was going to be the instrument to the end of the world. And that Maul was terrified and really, really disturbed by what he was seeing in his visions night after night. And he was so terrified that this is the first time he ever dared really try to turn on his master. It's the first time that he even imagined that he would tell people his master's name, which would have been great information for the Jedi to have.
I mean, Yoda just meditating.
I wonder who Darth
guy.
Sidious is. Yeah, and they're like, well, Maul would, should have just gotten a paid phone. He's like, it's Palpatine.
Yeah,
hung up.
that's it.
But he never does that.
Yeah.
Because there are strands of loyalty, and you imagine strands of fear that keep those characters linked.
Right.
But he's willing to sever those at the very end to reach out for Ahsoka Tano, makes an offer by telling the absolute truth about the situation, but he botches the pitch because he's like, well,
that's our guy. That's our Maul.
Yeah. Well, and this is what leads us to Shadow Lord, because he doesn't botch the pitch in Shadow Lord. He's like, oh, I've got to remember my audience when I'm talking. And, you don't hear him talking about revenge throughout the series. He doesn't do that. He goes, yeah, let's, you Jedi, you're so amazing. You should be ruling. You should be leading. You should be, he's figuring out ways to sell these ideas to Jedi, because with Ahsoka, he didn't do that. He told her the absolute truth. He thought that was going to do it. I'm telling you,
it was
everything.
a very convincing pitch, I thought.
Well, and the problem is, he goes, look, you were cast out of the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was cast out of the Sith. I hate my master. I'd like to kill him. You hate your master. Let's go kill him. This is great, right? She's like, he's my best friend. He's like,
damn.
Slight miscalculation.
Jedi. Yeah. Of course.
Sky
Jedi.
guy.
Jedi.
Those pesky attachments.
Yeah, exactly.
Jedi. Right. Breaking their own rules with the attachment thing, by the way. But, so for Maul, the other interesting thing about in this series is that Maul is now seeing the Empire. He says to Devon, now you've seen the face of your true enemy. He's saying that because he went through that. This is a guy who was raised to hate the Jedi Knights, but he never questioned it and never asked, well, where's Sidious coming from on this? And he just took it as truth. They need to be destroyed. And he was doing his best. He killed a lot of Jedi Knights during the Clone Wars, more than we know. And then when he gets to Shadow Lord and he meets the Inquisitors, he goes, this is the alternative.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And this Empire is awful. This is not how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this what Palpatine had in mind? This isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And the Inquisitors, one of the interesting things about Star Wars is that lightsaber fights in particular are about principle versus principle, two opposing viewpoints. And the lightsabers are the way that they work that out, right? So if you fight Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have Maul's principles versus Obi-Wan. Yes, him. If a Jedi Knight or a Sith goes up against a bunch of battle droids, well, guess what? They're not coming up against principles.
Wait until we were.
Thank you very much, ladies. I think we're done.
I told her she should be wearing it the whole time.
We got a guest for the rest of the pod.
I'm taking the apples with me. I'm sorry. No. So, why do Jedi cut through battle droids like they're nothing? Because there's no principle there. There's nothing. There's no value.
Roger.
That's the value. Roger is their moral value.
That's what I call Mallory Star Wars Tourette's, where she just can't.
I can't help it. Just can't help it.
So when it comes to the Inquisitors, the terrifying thing about them to Maul, the thing that's so objectionable, is he's like, this is the same empty void that you'd get from a droid, but they're winning.
Right.
There's no principle. There's no soul there. There's nothing. There's nothing guiding these folks. They're completely in thrall to the Emperor, but they're winning. What's going on here? How dark is this empire? And so for that reason, you know, when Maul talks about the Jedi Knights early in the season, he is also telling the truth. Like, Jedi, you know what? I've come to realize something. You guys were amazing, but you were asleep at the wheel.
Right.
But you guys could have done so much if you'd only just woke up.
Jedi 2.0, let's go.
Yeah, right. And, you know, he doesn't really understand the intricacies there, you know, but that's his perspective. I mean, you know, the way even the show looks, the crafting of the lighting and how dangerous everything looks. Well, we're getting a peek at the Star Wars universe through Maul's perspective. In Maul's world, you can't stop to reflect because someone's going to kill you.
Right.
You can't stop to reach a helping hand to a friend who's in need because that leaves you open to attack. You can't do that. It's not an option. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Maul deals with, going forward, Devon, who is, you could imagine, would be quite a vulnerability, you know?
Interesting. What a tease. We don't have much time left. Is there anything else? You mentioned that it's been 2 years you've been sitting on some information about the finale. Yeah. We did our best to ask some Vader questions, but is there anything else any secrets you've been keeping that you're excited to say into a microphone in this very safe space?
You know, I think it's, funny enough, I think it's all kind of in the show. I mean, I thought Brad did an extraordinary job of getting all of these ideas out either through visuals or dialogue or character action, you know, or a look or a passage or a lightsaber swipe. I feel like there's a lot of ideas crammed into the show. I mean, you know, you guys bring up the legs. It's like, you know, it's not just him wrestling with bionics that are going wrong. It's him dealing with extraordinary feelings of inadequacy and failure. Yeah. You know, like that is where his failure, what happened? Where did his life go wrong? Well, it went wrong when he lost his legs. So if Daki kicks him in the knee, he's not just kicking him in the knee. That is a horrifying emotional wound that Daki is aggravating right there. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about the show and about Star Wars in general is that, you know, in episode 4, Daki and Maul have a whole debate, really for Devon's benefit. They have a whole debate about whose principles are more resilient, the Jedi's or the Sith. Whose principles are more resilient? Which philosophy is going to last through this catastrophe that we're all going through? And Maul goes, well, let us figure that out. Let's discover the truth. Pulls his lightsaber, wipes the floor with Daki. Yeah. I mean, and you can see when he fights Devon, he's going, okay, check your footwork. Good. You're doing great. You're doing great. Okay, Daki's come over. And then he just, he just goes after him and just vicious and humiliates him. And then goes back to Devon and be like, do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm doing? You know, he's teaching her even in that fight. And in the midst of that fight where he is totally controlling the room, Daki gets in one knee kick. One knee kick.
Yeah.
Daki then gets his ribs broken, thrown back. He's dealing with those injuries for the rest of the season. But he got that one knee kick in.
Yeah.
And Maul has to have it repaired. Okay, cool. And then one knee kick. That one knee kick is the first domino that ends up unraveling the entirety of Maul's plan by the end of the season. Because it leads to everything that happens. The malfunctioning knee, what happens? He's fighting the Inquisitors, but he takes a jump and the knee kicks out some sparks because it's not totally repaired.
Right.
And the Inquisitors are like, oh, interesting. And it just keeps getting worse and worse as everyone is let in on what this man's emotional vulnerability is. And which leads to 108, where he almost falls back into madness because of this.
Right.
And so if you were to answer the question in 104, whose philosophy is more resilient? You would say, well, it's the Sith. Or Maul's, rather. The philosophy of Maul's aggression. He is telling the truth. He's got this down. And look, clearly Daki can't handle this. Maul's philosophy is more resilient. But then you back up and you watch the whole season and you go, Daki's principles are more resilient. Daki is the only one who lands a hit on Big Daddy. You know, Daki Docky lands
Which is
with
your code name for Vader.
That's
Big
right. That's what
Daddy.
we would only say Big Daddy because we were afraid someone would
stuff.
hear the words Vader come out of our mouth. Docky lands. He's got a broken rib. She's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm not dead yet." He just keeps going and going and going and going because he is persevering. He's sticking with his principles. He is being a good person and he's continuing on. Whereas Maul, one knee kick unravels his entire plan.
Right.
So you go, no, actually, the Sith is quicker, more seductive. But if you know, and you can look for pleasure and quick solutions and easy solutions, because the other thing is that like life is nuanced. Life requires constant gut checks, requires constant reflection, the kind of reflection that you cannot stop and perform if you're a Sith, because you're afraid you're so fearful that someone's going to get you, someone's going to take something from you. So you never stop and reflect. The Jedi are always reflecting and realizing that everything is very complex and sometimes there's no easy answers. The Sith have great sound bites because they're saying it's very simple. It's that person's fault. Let's go get him.
Right.
Very simple.
Seductive.
It's this person over here is the cause of all your suffering. Let's go get him. Simple. Let's do it. But simplicity doesn't always equate to truth. It may sound true, but it requires more thought, more reflection, more breathing to figure your way out. So again, the Sith, quicker, easier, more seductive. The Jedi path is actually superior. But even through this season, the way we've crafted it, Maul did not really witness that.
Right.
He's just trying to get through. He's trying to survive.
Is the great through line for Maul then, you mentioned the inadequacy, like the loneliness and the sense of inferiority that stems from that? Because whether it is like, and we haven't talked as much about the crime syndicate aspect of the season, but whether it is his ceaseless, with Savage and now Devon and eventually Ezra, pursuit of an apprentice, but also the crime syndicates, like needing to feel, some of it is about power, some of it is about strength, some of it is rule of two weaning, but how much of it is just choose me and make
the
me
way
feel that you chose me.
My mentor did not choose me.
Exactly. I was cast aside, so now I need to live my entire life in the pursuit of being chosen.
All of these types of issues, I do feel a little bit like I have opinions about all these things, but I think that the more important opinion about any of these things is the audience. It's what they bring to it. It's something that Brad says all the time and that I try to learn from. There are times where you really want to have some very strong dialogue and you want to say what you mean. And then there are times where it's like, back off a little bit. Let the audience bring their experience to this because their answers may be more interesting and more deep than what we have. Now, incidentally, I do agree that that the character is dealing and struggling with feelings of inadequacy. But ultimately, everything that I've said in this entire podcast, it's useless. It's not important. What's important is that people have an experience that is theirs when it comes to this type of thing. That's the important thing. So here I am talking about Star Wars, talking about the Force and bionic limbs and all this stuff. But it's really about how do we approach the challenges in our life. And the only people that can really answer these questions are, it's you. It's you. That's the better answers lie with you than with me. So I've just undermined the entire interview.
No, great news. We love to talk about Maul.
Perfect.
And we love to podcast for hours on end about it.
True.
So that's fantastic. All right, we're going to end with a little insight into the canon of our podcast for you, Joanna.
The Great Apple Wars.
The Great Apple Wars.
Yeah, which have, bedeviled us for years.
Yep.
It is Mallory's assertion that green apples are disgusting and worthless. It is my
Unless
assertion
they're cooked in a pie.
that a Granny
an
Smith apple
applesauce.
is the best apple that exists.
Right.
She has a tattoo that is a red apple. Mine is on my back, but it's a green apple. And these are
The Apple Wars.
the Apple Wars. And when the video circulated of you eating
the
a green
green
apple,
apple.
Just a devastating blow for me.
it's a huge win for me. So yeah, I just wanted to welcome you to Team Green.
Thank you.
And
I see this.
yeah, thanks for being here.
I brought the
Appreciate
one
that.
red. I brought a, I think, beautiful sugar bee that looks delicious and is sweet. and the skin is not so thick that it would cut your gums as you bit into it. And I'll just throw that out there. And, I had one for breakfast, and it was great.
She absolutely took a shot there. Did you see that?
No, constantly.
That was crazy.
It was a constant.
Joanna selected all of these green apples, and they're beautiful. I will say they look great. Would I want to eat one? No.
Oh my God.
How limiting.
Wow.
How sad for you, honestly.
I think we have to turn her.
Is Maul team green though? Like, would Maul saying, he loves to say Kenobi, is that his favorite word to say, or would it be Granny Smith apple?
It's very, very close between those two. The green apple thing is actually that eating green apple slices and stuff like that when you're in a studio helps you, it reduces the sort of saliva sound in your mouth. Because you don't, unless you're playing Jabba the Hutt, in which case...
Red apples all the way.
Red apples all the way.
Yeah.
But it just kind of...
You can have
I've got Jabba.
Yeah, you've got Jabba.
Team Jabba.
You got all the Hutts on your team. Good job.
I don't know that red apples enhance it. I like both kinds of apples because balance the force.
Balance in the force.
Yeah.
Damn, small victory for me at the end there.
You think that's
Real peacemaker here, unlike
I'm trying.
Maul,
I'm trying.
Yeah.
He's, as he is, he's trying his best,
Sam,
thank you so much.
Thank you for this. This was such a treat for us. Congrats on all of the success of season 1. We cannot wait to keep watching Maul's journey.
Oh, thank you.
From here.
Thank you very much.
Okay. What a chat.
I have a reveal.
What a treat.
That interview was so impactful that I did die, and I have been force ghosting this entire podcast with you.
Guys, can you give Joe a little kind of blue hue around her, at least just for the outro here? Just to really land the great effect.
We have the skills, right?
I think so. I think so. That was wonderful.
It was great.
I was proud of both of us, despite leaning into some of our, the true spirit of House of R. We had the apples, we did the bits, the Kenobi shirt, etc. I was proud that I wasn't like, Aiden, being human, crash down, Battlestar. Kept it together.
You
stayed
were
composed.
Remarkable.
Stayed composed.
I was deeply impressed by you.
It was fun. You think he'll come back for season 2?
Well, he's a friend of the pod now.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right?
You're here once, you're a friend of the pod.
You're a friend of the pod. That's what friend of the pod, for most people, friend of the pod is like, you have been a friend of the pod, and then you get the title. No, not us.
It is bestowed. Tim Oliphant.
Friend of the pod. Friend of the pod. That dog who walked behind Timmy. Friend of the pod. Was his name Ben?
Could be.
I think the dog.
Ben Kenobi?
Ben Kenobi. I do think that dog's name was Ben. Okay. Thank you to Sam Witwer. Yes. I mean, come on. Most of all, of course. Sam Witwer. But thank you to everybody else as well. Our wonderful crew here. Carlos, Scott, Jamie, Arjuna, Jomi. Anyone else who's here today helping out?
The booking team that made Sam Witwer happen.
That's right. Allison. Thank you to Allison Turner and the booking team for making that happen. That was such a treat to be able to chat with Sam. Thank you to anybody who heard Joanna's plea to make sure that Wilson Bethel is on this podcast in mere days, took action.
Yeah.
And ensured that it came to be.
They're not busy.
We will see you on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 finale, potentially with Wilson Bethel, if you have made it so. It's really on you. Bye.
Bye.